and good afternoon to all of you. I'd like to welcome you for today's press statement with Ceferino Rodolfo, Undersecretary for the Industry Development and Trade Policy Group under the Philippine Department of Trade and Industry. He is also the lead of the Philippine ASEAN Economic Ministers meetings. Undersecretary Rodolfo will give a statement today on the priority economic deliverables under the Philippines ASEAN chairmanship. As former Assistant Secretary for Industry Development and Trade Policy Group for the Philippine Department of Trade and Industry, Undersecretary Rodolfo has provided key support in authoring the country's international trade strategy and in coming up with the Philippine trade negotiation agenda. His work also included the country's substantive participation in various international fora, such as the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, APEC, and the World Trade Organization, and heightened awareness of key DTI programs and initiatives geared towards strengthening the competitiveness of local industries, particularly micro, small, and medium enterprises. Undersecretary Rodolfo holds a doctoral degree in public administration from the National College of Public Administration and Governance of University of the Philippines. With that, please allow me to welcome Department of Trade and Industry Undersecretary Ceferino Rodolfo.
Good afternoon, everyone. For the past 3 days, we've been engaged in ASEAN Economic Ministers meetings and related meetings, as well as ASEAN Summit and related summits. At the Philippine level, the trade partners represented in these meetings and summits account for 91% of our total global exports. Now, at the ASEAN level, this would probably be one of the largest convergence of the region's trade partners, made more meaningful as we are celebrating the 50th founding anniversary of one of the fastest growing regions in the world, with one of its fastest growing members serving as chair. So I will be reading the press statement of Secretary Ramon Lopez of the Department of Trade and Industry, who has served as chair of the ASEAN Economic Ministers meetings. Our main goal as chair of the ASEAN Economic Ministers in the past year has been to ensure that those at the bottom of the pyramid can participate in trade, particularly by integrating the micro, small, and medium enterprises, or MISMEs. We are committed in having ASEAN's economic growth become more inclusive. We have been advocating this view in other fora, including in the recent APEC summit in Da Nang, Vietnam, wherein we called on discarding the old view that while trade creates tremendous wealth, it also generates winners and losers. While competition has yielded efficiency gains in trade, we need complementation, cooperation, and collaboration to develop an inclusive globalization model where everyone emerges as winner. The Philippines ASEAN chairmanship this year is a remarkable success, achieved through the concerted efforts of the 10 member states and continuous open dialogue and cooperation with our external partners. This year's chairmanship is guided by the banner theme of Partnering for Change, Engaging the World, under which there are 6 thematic priorities. Number 1, people-oriented and people-centered ASEAN. Number 2, peace and stability in the region. Number 3, maritime security and cooperation. Number 4, inclusive innovation-led growth. Number 5, ASEAN's resiliency. And then ASEAN, a model of regionalism, a global player. Let me focus on the 4th one. Under the ASEAN Economic Community, the Philippines focused on and pushed for initiatives that lead to the promotion of an inclusive and innovative region, where ASEAN citizens can confidently and proudly, they can call ASEAN as their home. AEC's priority for this year magnifies the imperative for the gains presented by the ongoing economic integration to be fully realized and shared by everyone towards an inclusive region-wide prosperity. It thus acknowledges the socio-economic dimensions of trade and regional economic integration and its contribution to poverty alleviation through advances in trade facilitation, trade in services, connectivity, inclusive business, e-commerce, and innovation, which all provide for the greater participation of MISMIS and other marginalized sectors, including women and youth, in all commercial activities. Propping up the theme are three strategic measures, namely increasing trade and investment. So number 2, integrating MISMIS in global value chains. And number 3, developing an innovation-driven economy. These strategic measures are further supported by 11 economic priority deliverables. So there are 6 priority themes, of which one is very much related to economic, that's inclusive, innovation-led growth. And then under this economic theme, there are 3 strategic measures. And under these strategic measures, these 3 strategic measures, there are 11 priority deliverables. Of the 11 priority deliverables, the Philippines, together with the whole of ASEAN, has been able to successfully fully achieve 8. 2 were technically achieved, and 1 is a work in progress. Let me give you updates. Just for your information, the hard copy that we distributed early this morning, we have updated that a bit because of the some updates that happened through the night and early this morning. Early this year, the ASEAN economic ministers endorsed, number 1, this is the first of the 11 priority deliverables, the focus and strategic action agenda on investment, which aligns with the ASEAN Comprehensive Investment Agreement. Under this was the conduct of the Linking ASEAN MISMIS with Global and ASEAN Multinational Enterprises, or MNEs, an event that was conducted last October 19, and which brought together about 90 companies, small MISMIS and large companies, and provided them with the opportunity to interact with each other, start initial discussions on possible future cooperation joint ventures, and we hope that this can be replicated in succeeding ASEAN chairmanships. So there were about 90 companies from 5 ASEAN member states that participated in this event. Now, at the sidelines of the 30th ASEAN Summit in April in Manila, this is the second economic priority which was delivered. Philippine President Duterte and Indonesian President Widodo sent off the maiden voyage of the ASEAN RoRo that plied the Davao General Santos Bitong route. The ASEAN RoRo supports the region's efforts towards pursuing integration, enhancing connectivity, expanding trade and investment opportunities, and developing MISMIS and the sub-regions. Now, during the 49th ASEAN Economic Ministers meeting that the Philippines hosted in September, ASEAN Economic Ministers adopted the following. So this is the third priority deliverable. The ASEAN Seamless Trade Facilitation Indicators. To assist ASEAN in our efforts to design and implement trade facilitation policies, regulations, and procedures, this is expected to facilitate the goal of increasing intra-regional trade between the period 2017 and 2025, and this will be complemented by the agreement among member states to reduce transaction costs in trade by 10% by 2020. And the fourth deliverable was the ASEAN Inclusive Business Framework that aims to contribute towards achieving the AEC 2025 vision of a resilient, inclusive, and people-oriented and people-centered community by providing a platform for MISMIS to be integrated in the regional and global value chains. And the fifth one is the ASEAN Work Program on Electronic Commerce 2017-2025 that would provide ASEAN the framework for increasing participation of MISMIS in the regional and global economic activities, especially with the lowering of trade barriers and operating costs of businesses given the current technological and digital advances. Now, for the sixth deliverable, more recently, the Philippines successfully conducted the first full and comprehensive country visit exercise under the AEC 2025 Monitoring and Evaluation Framework. This was held last October 9 to 13, 2017. The country visit ensures that policies are facilitative and they do contribute to the ongoing regional integration efforts towards greater inclusivity. Now, at the 31st ASEAN Summit plenary meeting, ASEAN leaders, and this was yesterday, so number 7, ASEAN leaders adopted the following: the action agenda on mainstreaming women's economic empowerment in ASEAN to provide various opportunities for women as it encourages all ASEAN countries to work together by investing in programs that provide an enabling environment where Miss can thrive and prosper. And 8, the ASEAN Declaration on Innovation. This will build an ecosystem of technology and innovation-based entrepreneurship and establish stronger cooperation among member states to enhance our regional competitiveness in innovation through closer collaboration in science, technology, and innovation, and research and development. So those are the 8 priority deliverables which have been fully delivered. There are 2 deliverables which have been technically completed, and these are, number 1, the substantial conclusion of the discussions on the region-wide self-certification scheme this year, which is targeted to be fully implemented by 2018. This simplified and streamlined procedure would allow businesses, especially MIS, to maximize the opportunities presented by the ATIGA and the various FTAs that ASEAN is a party to, therefore providing them with brighter prospects to participate in trade. And number 10, so this is the second of the 2 deliverables technically completed, is the substantial conclusion of the ASEAN Trade in Services Agreement, or ATISA. This will happen this year. This would further facilitate trade in services integration in the region through deepened commitments and increased transparency. Now, the 11th priority deliverable is the substantial conclusion of the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. This remains as a work in progress. Nonetheless, the level of engagement on the RCEP has been unprecedented. Leaders of RCEP negotiating countries will meet for the inaugural RCEP summit this afternoon, in a few minutes. The leaders' meeting follows 3 ministerial-level meetings that happened this year and 6 senior official-level meetings and trade negotiating committee meetings. This is indicative of the importance that all parties are giving to the RCEP. Now, on top of all of these 11 priority deliverables, the Philippines was also able to shepherd the resolution of long-standing issues through its chairmanship of high-level economic meetings, such as the Senior Economic Officials Meeting and the ASEAN Economic Ministers Meeting, and the conclusion of key negotiations, as well as we have commenced discussions with external partners, that all of these really aim to further strengthen and deepen trade and economic relations. On the long-standing issues which we were able to resolve this year, number 1 is the ASEAN-Hong Kong-China Free Trade Agreement and the ASEAN-Hong Kong Investment Agreement. These were signed by the trade ministers of ASEAN and Hong Kong last November 12. This year also further intensified the resolve between ASEAN and our dialogue partners to deepen engagements through the enhancement of existing free trade agreements, such as the ASEAN-China FTA, ASEAN-Japan Comprehensive Economic Partnership, ASEAN-Korea FTA, ASEAN-Australia-New Zealand FTA, and the ASEAN-India FTA. Notable developments on all of these ASEAN FTAs include the following. Number 1, the completion of Stage 1 of the ANSFATA, that's the ASEAN, Australia, New Zealand FTA General Review that seeks to enhance ASEAN's FTA with the said countries. Number 2, improving negotiations for market access under the ASEAN-Korea FTA. This will provide lower tariffs, particularly in the case of the Philippines. Our interests are the exports of tropical fruits and agricultural goods to Korea. And number 3, this is very important, as has been announced yesterday by Prime Minister Abe, issues related to the finalization of the protocol to amend the ASEAN-Japan Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement to incorporate the chapters on trade in services, investment, and movement of natural persons have been resolved. So this means that this agreement is now ready for legal scrubbing by next year. Now, in a bid to deepen ASEAN's relationship with our external partners and provide more opportunities to ASEAN peoples, we continue to embark on discussions for possible FTAs with other regions. In particular, the ASEAN and EU commenced discussions on the possibility of resuming the negotiations for the region-to-region FTA, which has been on hiatus or was stalled since 2009. Second, for Canada, ASEAN embarked on a joint feasibility study with Canada, and the two sides have agreed on the conduct of exploratory discussions to further assess the merits of a possible FTA. And lastly, an FTA with Russia is also being explored as a region-to-region FTA between ASEAN and the Eurasian Economic Union. This will start with information sharing and confidence-building activities to be undertaken as stepping stones to more formal FTA talks. We are optimistic that these developments will later help generate greater trade and investment engagement for our country, which in turn would help create opportunities, jobs, and employment for our countrymen and lift our people from poverty and really encourage more MIS to be integrated into trade. So thank you very much.
Since our speaker has another meeting after the briefing, we will not be able to take questions. You may access a copy of the statement at any of the press kiosks or at the information counter in front. Please be advised also that the press briefing at 3:30 with spokesperson Harry Roque has been canceled. Thank you very much, Yusek Rodolfo, and all of you for your time. And that ends today's press briefing. Thank you.